Breaking news has the internet losing its mind. And baby, this one is messier than a Braxton family dinner gone wrong. Tamar Braxton has allegedly exposed her own sister Toni for something so scandalous. Even Birdman had to pack his bags and vanish into thin air. Word on the street is Toni Braxton did not just go broke, she went bankrupt twice, got caught slipping in court documents, and then turned around and married Birdman not for love but for a financial come-up. Yes, you heard that right. People are now saying the whole marriage was just a business transaction, and not even a smart one, because sis filed for divorce after just 2 days. 2 days, not 2 weeks, not 2 months, 2 days. And now Tamar has supposedly had enough of the lies and has decided to let the world know what really went down behind the scenes. From money drama to family betrayal to fake fairy tale romances, this is the kind of tea that comes with a warning label. So what was Tamar's motive, and why now? Stick around, because what you are about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about the Braxtons. Let's take it all the way back to when the Braxton family's picture-perfect front started quietly cracking beneath the surface, because for years, people thought Toni Braxton was the calm, elegant, flawless big sister who had it all together. Grammy-winning legend, designer wardrobe, smooth voice, and that signature walk like money never runs out. But oh, how the tables have turned. Now, according to some fiery whispers and supposedly leaked tea floating through the digital grapevine, Tamar Braxton has finally had enough of the silence, the pretending, and the forced family loyalty. She's allegedly ready to expose what really went down behind the scenes, and it's got everyone side-eyeing that fairy tale narrative between Toni and Birdman. The story the public was sold was love conquers all, opposites attract, and a match made in music royalty heaven. But the story Tamar is allegedly hinting at sounds more like a desperation plotline ripped straight from a bet drama. According to claims that are growing louder by the day, Toni didn't just fall in love, she fell into a financial trap. And Birdman wasn't just a romantic partner, he was a bailout plan with gold teeth and a cash-stuffed vault. Fans are now questioning everything, because the timeline isn't adding up. Toni's second bankruptcy was quiet, too quiet. The lavish life didn't slow down, the bags, the diamonds, the first-class flights all stayed the same, but behind the glam was allegedly a sinking ship. And while Tamar stayed silent for years, trying to protect the family brand, she's allegedly fed up. Sources close to the situation claim Tamar spilled details in private conversations that are now mysteriously making their way online, painting a picture of Toni as a woman backed into a financial corner, forced to make the kind of choices no one wants to admit in public. Remember, this is the same Toni who once had to file for bankruptcy while riding high on the charts. Not once, but twice. And we're supposed to believe that Birdman just showed up out of nowhere with flowers and pure intentions. Please. Tamar allegedly saw the behind-the-scenes scramble. She saw the phone calls, the overdue notices, the panicked meetings with accountants, and most of all, she saw the silence that followed. Because nothing screams cover-up louder than a sudden engagement to one of hip-hop's most controversial moguls, followed by a mysteriously quiet breakup. And let's talk about Birdman for a minute. The man is a walking mystery, known for shell companies, hidden assets, and vaults bigger than some banks. If anyone could play financial fixer without making it look obvious, it's him. But what if this wasn't love at all? What if it was strategy? What if Tamar is now speaking out because the image Toni tried so hard to protect is finally cracking on its own? According to one source that allegedly overheard Tamar venting backstage during a studio session, the marriage wasn't even real. It was paperwork, a handshake, a transaction that came with conditions. And the sad part is, Toni might not be the only one who knew. Industry insiders are now chiming in, saying whispers of Toni's financial troubles have circled quietly for years. There were rumors of secret investors, silent brand partners, and random disappearances of funds that never added up. And while Toni smiled on red carpets, she was allegedly dealing with repo notices behind the scenes. The glam squad stayed on call, but the IRS was circling like vultures. And then came Birdman, like some kind of unconventional savior with a briefcase full of clean slates. But even he couldn't hold the illusion for long, because just months after the so-called romance began making headlines, the cracks started to show. Tamar's social media posts became cryptic. Her interviews took on a sharper tone. And then suddenly, she was no longer defending the fairy tale. In fact, she was distancing herself from the narrative altogether. Fans started asking questions, but Tamar never gave direct answers. Until now, if the rumors are true, she's allegedly ready to rip the mask off completely, not because she wants to embarrass Toni, but because the lie has gone too far. The public's being sold fantasy while the truth is drowning in red ink. And to make matters worse, it wasn't just about money. According to one unverified but widely circulated claim, Toni allegedly signed off on property deeds and luxury purchases under Birdman's companies, thinking they were long-term investments, only to find herself locked out of decisions. Sources say Tamar tried to intervene, tried to warn her, but the family loyalty code was in full effect. And now that things have collapsed anyway, Tamar doesn't see the point in keeping secrets anymore. Some even believe she's using her own platform, sneakily planting little clues for fans to decode. The song lyrics, the interviews, the sideways glances on reality shows. It's all starting to add up now that the truth is leaking faster than a broken faucet. And let's not forget, the Braxton family has a long history of sweeping things under the rug for the sake of looking united. But unity doesn't pay the bills. And unity doesn't fix contracts. If Toni really did orchestrate a relationship just to cover up financial chaos, that's not love, that's survival. And Tamar, she's done playing along. If the whispers are true, then this is just the beginning? Because once Tamar starts talking, she doesn't stop. And if this is what she's exposing first, you better believe there's more coming. People always said the Braxtons were polished on the outside and messy underneath. Now it looks like Tamar is pulling back the curtain and letting us all see the storm behind the smiles. And the scariest part isn't that Toni was allegedly broke. The scariest part is how far she was willing to go to hide it. And the scariest part is how far she was willing to go to hide it. Because behind every silence, there's usually a scream. And it's becoming clearer by the day that Toni Braxton wasn't just hiding a financial collapse. She was allegedly hiding an emotional one, too. The pressure of always being perfect, of carrying the Braxton name like a crown while the kingdom was crumbling underneath, must have been suffocating. According to insiders close to the situation, Toni's relationship with Birdman wasn't just a business deal, it was also a shield, a way to keep the world from asking too many questions. Questions like why her luxury cars were being repossessed one week and magically reappearing the next. Or how her lavish lifestyle continued despite back-to-back bankruptcies. People assumed the money was coming from royalties or secret investments, but if what Tamar is alluding to is true, it was coming from somewhere else entirely. Whispers say Birdman allegedly covered debts quietly, with the understanding that Toni would play the part, smile, show up at events, post a few pictures here and there, all while pretending the love story was real. But love doesn't require NDAs, and apparently, there were quite a few of those floating around. Allegedly, Tamar found one by accident while helping with a last-minute tour scramble. And that's when things really started to unravel. She confronted Toni, tried to get her to see what was happening, but by then, Toni was in too deep. Pride wouldn't let her back out? Not after all the media spin, not after the fake wedding rumors, not after telling the world that this time, she had finally found her peace. And Tamar, stuck between loyalty and truth, began to crack. Those infamous outbursts people chalked up to drama or diva behavior. They weren't about nothing. They were silent screams wrapped in performance. Because watching your sister sell a lie, just to stay afloat, eats away at you. And now, sources say Tamar isn't just ready to talk, she's ready to burn the whole narrative to the ground. What's even more shocking is how many people allegedly knew but stayed silent. Stylists, managers, label reps, assistants, all of them played along. Some even signed silence clauses to keep the image intact. But now those people are tired too. One former crew member who worked on Toni's tour allegedly told a blogger that every time Birdman showed up backstage, the energy shifted. He wasn't there for love, he was there for control. Conversations changed when he entered the room. Plans were altered, directions given, budgets slashed or expanded at his whim. And yet, the public saw none of it. All they saw was the polished photo ops and filtered captions. But the truth doesn't stay buried forever. Tamar's recent moves suggest she's carefully laying out the breadcrumbs for the public to follow. Cryptic captions, reflective interviews, even a few unscripted comments during podcast episodes. All of it points to a woman ready to free herself from a story she never agreed to be part of. One source claims Tamar even planned to confront Toni on camera during a reality show taping but was allegedly shut down by producers who didn't want to derail the episode's tone. Translation: They didn't want the truth to mess up the fantasy. And that's the root of this entire mess. The Braxton brand has always been about image over honesty, but that image is now crumbling. Because if Toni truly married Birdman out of financial necessity, what else was she hiding? Some say she put up personal assets as collateral. Others claim she handed over control of certain music rights in exchange for quick cash infusions. And still others believe the entire relationship was a smokescreen to distract from even deeper legal troubles brewing beneath the surface. Whatever the case, Tamar is allegedly done keeping quiet. She's been hinting that the public deserves to know the full story, not just the glossy edited version served up for social media, because real life isn't filtered, and neither is the pain of watching someone you love trade their dignity for damage control. And it doesn't stop at Toni. Rumors are swirling that other Braxton family members were in on it too, playing their roles to keep the illusion alive. Silent meetings, sudden vacations, random behavior, all of it makes sense now if you believe the theory that the entire family was covering for Toni's secret collapse. And if that's true, then Tamar's rebellion isn't just personal, it's revolutionary. She's pulling the plug on the machine. She's stepping off the stage mid-performance and telling the audience the play was a lie. And while some fans are applauding her bravery, others are nervous. Because if this is what she's saying now, what's coming next? One unverified tip claims Tamar is planning a full sit-down interview where she finally spilled the truth. No edits, no filters, just facts. And if that happens, the fallout could be massive. Because this isn't just about Toni and Birdman, it's about how far people are willing to go to maintain an illusion, how much they'll risk, how deeply they'll bury themselves just to protect a brand. And the worst part, Toni might have believed it was all worth it, that the silence, the lies, the fake smiles were a small price to pay for survival. But survival shouldn't look like this. It shouldn't come with chains, secrets, and staged love stories. And now that Tamar's allegedly breaking free, the house of cards is shaking. The Braxton name once stood for talent, class, and sisterhood, but if these allegations are true, it now stands for something else entirely: deception in designer heels. And just when you thought this chaotic Braxton-Birdman circus couldn't get any wilder, Tamar dropped the final nail in the coffin with what some fans are calling the most brutal family betrayal ever witnessed in R&B history. She allegedly told close sources that Toni's entire lifestyle was basically sponsored by desperation and damage control. Not only was Toni supposedly borrowing money to maintain appearances, but she was allegedly pressuring people in the family to co-sign silent financial favors, covering private debts, and even requesting last-minute loans before red carpet appearances. And the gag is, Tamar wasn't the only one spilling tea this time. Anonymous DMs began flooding gossip pages, all echoing one twisted version of the truth: that Toni's glam was being bought on borrowed time. A close family friend reportedly told one outlet, Toni wasn't broke in the normal way. She was Hollywood broke. Like, the kind of broke where you still wearing diamonds, but every sparkle got a receipt behind it. Let that sink in. And, while fans continued to glamorize the Birdman relationship as some odd power couple goal, insiders are claiming it was more of a lifeboat than a love story. Allegedly, Birdman stepped in not as Prince Charming, but as Mr. Bailout, cleaning up Toni's mess in exchange for some public credibility and a few headlines that helped his own image bounce back from years of controversy. But once the financial fire got somewhat under control, so did the love. It vanished. Poof. Publicly, they blamed scheduling and private differences. But if you read between the lines of Tamar's sly interviews and sudden social media cryptics, you'll see that the entire storyline was crumbling faster than a Braxton family values plot twist. Tamar allegedly went on to say that she watched her sister become a shell of herself. The same Toni who once walked into rooms with effortless grace was now showing up late, anxious, paranoid about money, and worried about judgment. Her business decisions grew more erratic, her team allegedly started switching up, and even some brand deals began mysteriously falling through. One source claimed that a major endorsement pulled out last minute because Toni failed to provide some basic financial transparency. It's like the debts were no longer just numbers, they were now roadblocks, dragging her entire career down in silence. And what did Tamar do? She allegedly tried to help, but every time she stepped in, she was told to hush up, stay in her lane, and not embarrass the family. But Tamar is not the stay-silent type. We all know she talks when she's ready. And according to these leaked messages and back-channel conversations, this time she decided enough was enough. Publicly, she kept it light. A few cryptic tweets. A side-eye in an interview. A random comment about people living in luxury lies, but behind the scenes, she was telling friends, stylists, and even podcast hosts the real deal. That the Toni we see in photo ops and studio shots is not the Toni living in reality. That behind the filters and family smiles is a woman tired of pretending. Now, the aftermath is even messier. Fans are divided. Some are praising Tamar for being bold enough to stop covering up, calling her a truth-teller who finally broke the Braxton code of silence. Others are dragging her, claiming she sold out her own sister for clout. But the one thing no one is denying is this: Toni Braxton's finances are now officially the hottest topic in town. Music blogs, celebrity finance breakdown channels, even mainstream news is starting to speculate how the Grammy-winning singer found herself tangled in such a bizarre web of hidden bankruptcies, mystery marriages, and family infighting. Some are even digging into court records again, trying to connect old documents with new whispers. Meanwhile, Birdman's team has been radio silent. Not a peep, not a post, not a press release. Which, in the world of celebrity crisis management, says everything. Silence isn't golden in this case. It's a red flag waving in the wind. Tamar, on the other hand, seems more energized than ever. Her recent performances have more sass, her interviews are loaded with double meanings. And her fan base is eating it up like fresh gossip on a Monday morning. One TikTok user even joked, Tamar's vocals got stronger after she spilled that tea. You can hear the betrayal in the vibrato. And while that may sound petty, it hits on something real. Tamar seems like she's reclaiming her power, even if it means setting fire to the family narrative that kept her silenced for years. But what does this mean for Toni? Public sympathy is there. Sure, no one wants to see a legend fall from grace, but there's also a growing chorus of fans asking how many times can someone claim bankruptcy and still preach financial freedom in interviews? How long can the public believe in the dream when the receipts tell a completely different story? The whispers aren't stopping. In fact, they're getting louder. Some are wondering if Toni's next comeback will be a song or a statement. Will she break the silence, confront the rumors, or keep hoping this all blows over? One thing is for sure. The Braxton brand is officially in freefall. What started as a controlled family image built on class, talent, and sisterhood has now turned into a battlefield of secrets, betrayals, and broken trust. And leading the charge with her mic on full blast is Tamar, who might have just proved that sometimes the youngest sibling is the one who finally tells the truth no one else dared to speak. So now ask yourself, was this just a coincidence or a storm that's been quietly brewing behind velvet curtains for years? Tamar didn't just speak. She detonated a truth bomb that ripped the shiny surface right off this picture-perfect fantasy. Was Toni Braxton really a hopeless romantic or just a brilliant strategist hiding behind heartbreak and high notes? And if love was never in the equation, was Birdman just the bank account in a tuxedo? You tell us, is this a case of a sister's jealousy or a woman finally fed up with all the smoke and mirrors? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because we don't just expose stories, we drag the truth out of its glittery hiding place. And if you want more scandals, more secrets, and more savage truth served hot and unfiltered, then go ahead, like this video, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because trust me, the next bombshell is closer than you think and you do not want to miss it.